There is a very specific kind of panic that's just totally unique to the 21st century.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, picture this. You're flying down I-285 in Atlanta, right? You're
Hmm.
surrounded by thousands of gallons of gasoline just like sloshing around in all the internal combustion cars next to you. But your EV dashboard just chimes.
That dreaded sound.
Yeah, exactly. You look down and your battery is at 1%. The nearest supercharger is, miles away. Traffic is completely gridlocked and you are entirely out of options.
Right, because for, what, 100 years? When a car died on the side of the highway, you just walked to a gas station and walked back with a plastic jerry can.
Exactly. But today, you can't exactly carry electricity in a bucket. We literally have to bring the grid to the car.
It is the absolute definition of modern automotive anxiety. I mean, the infrastructure just hasn't entirely caught up to the adoption rate yet. We've basically replaced the mechanical breakdowns of the past with a totally new software-driven reality, which is range anxiety. Because when an electric vehicle depletes its high-voltage battery, it doesn't just, stop moving. It essentially bricks itself right in place.
Which brings us to the mission for today's deep dive. We are unpacking a huge stack of sources today, ranging from the National Roadside Network e-Rescue to local Atlanta service providers to figure out how mobile EV charging is completely disrupting the roadside assistance industry.
It's a massive shift.
It really is. We're looking at a fundamental shift in how drivers, businesses, and even these massive commercial fleets handle energy delivery. And, well, before we get into the physics and the economics of how all this works, I want to plant a flag right here. If you drive an EV anywhere in the metro area, pull out your phone right now, open your browser, and save atlantamobileevcharging.com.
Highly recommend doing that.
Seriously, do it right now before you find yourself stranded on the side of the connector. It's atlantamobileevcharging.com.
That is just smart preparation, especially when you look at the geographic reality of this specific city. I mean, Atlanta is not some compact, grid-based, easily navigable urban center.
No, not at all. It's huge.
It is a sprawling metropolis.
Mhm.
We're talking about a massive 45-mile radius from downtown that this network covers.
Right. You've got Marietta and Alpharetta to the north, Sandy Springs all the way down to Peachtree City and, stretching out west to Douglasville. It is a massive footprint.
It's huge.
And while it's true that Atlanta has EV chargers, they are heavily concentrated in very specific high-density commercial zones.
Yeah.
If you look at a map of the charging infrastructure, it leaves these massive, gaping dead zones all across the metro area.
So if you're commuting through one of those dead zones and that battery hits zero, the traditional permanent infrastructure simply cannot help you. I mean, you are stranded.
And the immediate instinct for any driver in that scenario is to just, revert to the old school safety net. You pull out your phone and you call a tow truck.
Right, which makes sense intuitively.
But treating an EV like a gas car in a breakdown scenario is actually incredibly dangerous for the vehicle. I was reading through the service protocols in our sources, and the mechanical risks of towing an EV are staggering.
Oh, they're huge. The physical architecture of an electric vehicle fundamentally rejects the concept of traditional towing. Let's break down the mechanics of a breakdown for a second.
Yeah, please do, because this was wild to me.
So when the main high-voltage lithium-ion battery dies, the 12-volt accessory battery usually drains shortly after. And that 12-volt battery is what powers the computers, the screens, and most importantly, the electronic parking brake and the transmission controls.
Meaning you can't even shift the car into neutral. The wheels are just physically locked.
Precisely. You have a vehicle that easily weighs, upwards of 5,000 pounds, just dead in the water, with locked wheels. You cannot put it on a traditional hook and chain tow truck. Dragging an EV on its drive wheels will spin the electric motors, which potentially generates current that has nowhere to go.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that can severely damage the powertrain.
So it requires a flatbed, right?
Right. But even then, getting a locked heavy EV onto a metal flatbed means dragging it with a winch. The friction and the stress on the suspension components are intense.
Not to mention the battery pack makes up the entire floorboard of the car.
Exactly. One wrong angle pulling it up that ramp, and a tow hook or chain scrapes the battery casing. You're suddenly looking at compromised thermal management systems or a ruined pack, which is, easily a $20,000 repair.
That is terrifying.
Right.
And that is just the physical risk. Let's look at the logistical nightmare of the traditional tow. You are sitting on the shoulder of a dangerous highway, waiting anywhere from 1 to 3 hours for a heavy-duty flatbed to even become available.
Because they're always in high demand.
Right. Then you're paying out of pocket anywhere from $150 to over $400 just for the hook and mileage fees.
And here is the kicker. At the end of that 3-hour ordeal, you haven't actually solved the problem. You've just paid $400 to be relocated to a charging station, where you still have to pay for the electricity, assuming the public charger isn't broken when you get there.
Which happens all the time. It is an incredibly inefficient, outdated solution being forced onto modern technology. Contrast that with this on-location rescue model.
It's completely different.
Right, you stay locked safely inside your own climate-controlled vehicle, if the 12-volt is still alive anyway, or at least safely off the roadway. The car doesn't move an inch, which drops the risk of undercarriage or battery damage to zero.
Zero risk. And the arrival time for mobile charging in this network is generally 30 to 45 minutes.
It changes the entire psychology of the breakdown. Instead of a multi-hour high-risk ordeal involving a flatbed, it just becomes a slightly delayed pit stop. And because this service operates 24/7, it doesn't matter if you run out of juice in Decatur at high noon or like in Lawrenceville at 2 in the morning.
Right. The entire metro area is covered by this dispatch hub, which operates through Atlanta Mobile EVcharging.com.
It neutralizes the most significant barrier to widespread EV adoption, which has always been that fear of being stranded without a safety net.
Exactly. But this brings us to the actual hardware, which I find completely fascinating.
Oh yeah, let's talk about the tech.
Yeah.
Because I know the skeptical listeners out there thinking, okay, so I request a mobile charge for my luxury Porsche Taycan or my brand new Rivian. Is some guy just going to roll up in a van with a loud, dirty, rattling gas generator from a home improvement store?
Right, like a construction site generator.
Exactly. Is this going to fry my car's computers or void my warranty?
That is the most critical question when we talk about mobile energy delivery. And the short answer is absolutely not. The vendors in this network are deploying highly specialized, professional-grade mobile charging units. Specifically, they utilize the Evry Road Hero RH9K and 16-kilowatt output models.
Yeah, I was looking at the technical specifications on these EV Road Hero units, and what caught my eye wasn't the raw wattage, it was the power quality metric.
The TH.
Yes. The total harmonic distortion, the THD, is rated at under 3%, which tells me this isn't just raw, unfiltered electricity being blasted into the car. It is heavily filtered, precisely managed power.
You've hit on the exact engineering breakthrough that makes this possible. If you use a cheap standard construction generator, the electrical output spikes and dips. It produces what engineers call a modified sine wave. It's blocky, it's digital, it's unstable.
And the EV's onboard charger, the computer that converts alternating current to direct current for the battery, is incredibly sensitive to those spikes.
Highly sensitive. If that duty power hits the onboard inverter, the car's self-protection mechanisms will often just reject the charge entirely. Or worse, those electrical spikes can physically fry the charging module.
Oh man, yeah.
The fact that the Evry Road Hero unit operates with a THD under 3% means it is delivering a pure sine wave. The electrical wave is smoothed out, mimicking the exact rhythm and stability of a premium, hardwired electrical grid in a luxury home.
So the car's computers literally cannot tell the difference between the mobile rescue unit and a high-end wall outlet.
Exactly. It receives a steady, safe, level 2 AC charge, and they bring the correct hardware to plug in directly. The units come standard with a J1772 connector, which is the universal standard for virtually every EV on the road.
And they carry the Tesla adapters too, right?
Yes, plus the specific Tesla adapters. So whether you are driving a BMW, a Hyundai Ioniq, a Chevy Bolt, or a Tesla Model Y, the physical connection is seamless and the electrical connection is flawless. No electrical spikes, no weird charging behavior, and zero risk to your vehicle's warranty.
That is huge.
Yeah.
And we also have to talk about the acoustic engineering of these units. Because if I am stranded in a quiet residential neighborhood in Dunwoody at midnight, the last thing I want is to wake up the entire block with an industrial engine roaring.
Right, the noise mitigation is another really impressive feature. These specific power units operate at approximately 64 decibels.
Which is pretty quiet, right?
Extremely. To give you a real-world comparison, 64 decibels is slightly quieter than a normal everyday conversation between two people. If you're standing 20 feet away from the van, the ambient noise of a passing car or the wind in the trees would likely drown it out completely.
Okay, so the mechanical risks of towing are eliminated, the pure sine wave tech is totally safe for the battery, and the operation is whisper quiet. Let's look at the actual business model and the booking strategy. Because looking at the source materials, they don't treat this like an open-ended tow truck meter.
No, not at all.
The pricing is entirely transparent, divided into 3 specific tiers based on what you actually need. You just hop onto AtlantaMobileEVCharging.com, you submit a request, and you choose your rescue level.
And this tiered model is actually a clever disruption of the traditional roadside assistance economy, because towing companies typically rely on opaque, fluctuating pricing. You have the hook fee, the mileage fee, fuel surcharges, sometimes even storage fees if they have to hold the vehicle.
Right, it adds up so fast.
Yeah. By flat rating the electricity delivery, this network has productized roadside assistance in a way we haven't seen before.
And it's fascinating that their most popular option is the lowest tier. The Quick Boost is a flat $199. You get a 30-minute charge, which mathematically translates to roughly 30 to 40 miles of range.
Right.
You would initially think a stranded driver would want a completely full battery, but this tier proves that isn't true at all.
No, because a 30-mile boost is a strategic rescue. It is exactly enough range to get you off the highway and safely home to your own garage in Smyrna or to the nearest supercharger. It solves 90% of emergencies without keeping the van tied up for hours.
It is the optimal balance of time and resources. But for drivers who need more, they offer the standard charge at $329. That provides a full 60-minute charge, giving you about 80 to 100 miles of range.
Which is a substantial top-off.
Yeah. I mean, if your day got derailed, you're out in Conyers, and you still have a massive crosstown commute ahead of you, that standard charge essentially resets your entire day.
And finally, they offer the extended charge for $429, which is a 90-minute session yielding 130 to 160 miles of range.
That's a lot of range.
It is. And they also keep the variables completely transparent. There's a $50 after-hours fee if you need rescue between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. And if you are deep in the outer suburbs, like beyond 25 miles from their center, it is an extra $2 per mile.
Upfront pricing with no hidden surprises. It is a massive relief when you're in a stressful situation. But taking a step back from the individual driver stuck on the shoulder for a second, I want to pivot to the macroeconomic impact of this technology.
Well, this is the really exciting part.
Right, because if this mobile, pure sine wave charging works seamlessly for one stranded commuter, what happens when you scale it up to an enterprise level?
This is where the concept moves from a roadside convenience to a critical infrastructure solution. The B2B business to business applications for mobile EV charging are staggering, particularly in a massive logistics and corporate hub like Atlanta.
I was trying to conceptualize how a corporate fleet currently handles the transition to electric vehicles. And the traditional method of fleet charging is essentially like deciding you want to provide lunch for your employees, and your solution is to build a massive commercial-grade cafeteria from scratch.
That's a great analogy.
Right. You have to buy industrial ovens, hire a full kitchen staff, secure health department permits, and completely renovate the building. It's a massive upfront capital investment just to get a sandwich.
It really is a brilliant way to frame it. The physical reality of installing permanent level 2 or level 3 charging infrastructure in a commercial depot or an apartment complex is a CapEx capital expenditure nightmare.
Yeah, you're talking about hiring architectural engineers, pulling municipal building permits, and physically trenching through solid concrete parking lots to lay miles of electrical conduit.
Exactly, and you often have to work with the utility company to upgrade the main transformers and electrical panels just to handle the load of a dozen electric delivery vans plugging in at once.
Oh, right, the grid upgrades.
It takes months, sometimes years of construction and millions of dollars in sunk costs before a single vehicle ever gets charged.
But using mobile charging for your fleet is the equivalent of just hiring a premium caterer. They show up exactly when you need them, they bring the food, they feed everyone, and they leave. No construction, no permits, no concrete trenching required.
You convert a massive capital expense into a manageable, sellable operating expense. Think about the target audiences here. You have delivery fleets that operate on razor-thin margins. If a route gets delayed because a van has to detour to a public charging hub, that downtime just kills their profitability.
Yeah, time is money for those guys.
Mobile charging allows the energy to come to the depot while the vans are being loaded or overnight while they are parked.
We're also talking about rental car lots that are suddenly managing dozens of EVs that get returned with empty batteries, or hotels that want to offer EV charging to their guests as an amenity, but cannot afford to dig up their parking structures.
Apartment complexes are perhaps the best example. Trying to retrofit a sprawling apartment complex in Midtown with dedicated charging spots involves navigating tenant parking rules, HOA regulations, and structural engineering challenges.
It's a headache.
A massive headache. Mobile EV charging bypasses the bureaucracy entirely. The chargers simply come to the residents' cars on a scheduled basis.
And the businesses can set this up on daily, weekly, or on-demand schedules, complete with volume discounts for recurring contracts. It completely changes the barrier to entry for businesses wanting to go electric. And the way this network is structured behind the scenes to deliver this service is a really clever hybrid business model.
The marriage of national logistics and local expertise is what makes this scalable.
Exactly.
Okay.
I mean, looking at the structural framework, EE Rescue operates as the national network. They are building the software infrastructure and the dispatch protocols across the country. They are already operating in markets like Sacramento and Portland and expanding into Denver and Las Vegas.
Right.
They handle the big picture logistics and the brand standards, but the actual boots on the ground right here in Georgia, the highly trained technicians pulling up to your commercial depot or your stranded car, they are local Atlanta professionals operating under the banner of electric vehicle serviceability.
It provides the reliability and standardized technology of a massive national corporation, powered by local operators who actually understand the traffic patterns on I-85 or the layout of the logistics hubs near the airport.
So if you are listening to this deep dive right now and you manage a corporate fleet, or maybe you run a traditional towing company and you want a safer, more profitable way to handle the EV calls you're getting, or perhaps you are an insurance provider, an auto dealership managing inventory, or a hotel manager looking for an amenity solution, you need to leverage this immediately. Head over to atlantamobileevcharging.com to set up commercial accounts, schedule regular fleet service, or discuss lucrative referral partnerships. You do not need to build that expensive cafeteria. Just call the caterer.
It is a profound operational advantage for B2B logistics.
We have covered incredible ground today. We unpacked the psychological relief of escaping a dead battery in heavy traffic. We detailed exactly why flatbed towing is a mechanical threat to EV architecture. We explored the physics of pure sine wave inverters protecting your car's computers. And we scaled that up to see how mobile units bypass millions of dollars in concrete trenching for commercial real estate.
And all of these details point to a massive overarching paradigm shift. If you step back and look at the history of the automobile, for the last 100 years, our entire relationship with vehicles has been dictated by a single unbending rule. The vehicle has to go to the energy.
We spent a century letting petroleum dictate our urban planning. The gas station literally anchored the neighborhood layout.
Exactly. We built our entire global landscape around that concept. Gas stations on every major intersection. Massive public charging hubs currently taking up prime, high-value commercial real estate. But what we are witnessing right now with these mobile networks operating in smart cities like Atlanta is the permanent decoupling of fuel from location.
Wow. The energy is no longer a destination. It is a service that comes to you.
And that raises a fascinating question for you to ponder. If you no longer need a dedicated geographic location to refuel a vehicle, how will that change urban planning over the next decade?
Okay, that's a great point.
If commercial parking lots and apartment buildings don't need to be hardwired with millions of dollars of electrical conduit to support fleet charging, what else becomes possible with that real estate and that capital? We are fundamentally rewriting our basic relationship with how our machines consume energy.
That is an incredible thought to leave on, the decoupling of fuel from location. It changes everything about how we look at a map, how we plan our cities, and how we manage our days. But on a practical level, it all starts with just being prepared for that low battery chime on the highway. So, to wrap up our deep dive today, I am going to leave you with this. If you drive an EV, manage electric vehicles, or serve EV owners in the Atlanta area, visit atlantamobileevcharging.com. Save the website before you need it, request service when assistance is available, or contact the company to discuss a commercial or referral partnership.